So I want to talk real quickly about this piece of gear called the driver from Jereko Gear. And I was hesitant to buy it at first when I got it about a year ago. I was hesitant to try it because I was afraid it would get lost or it would be buried down in my pack when I needed it and couldn't get to it or whatever. So the first thing I want to do is address that issue. I decided to get it because I got to thinking about the way that I camp, and whenever I set up camp, as part of everything else that's involved, setting up camp, getting the meal ready to cook and filtering water, all that kind of stuff, I also go ahead and dig a cat hole. That way, if I need it in the middle of the night, or if it's first thing in the morning or whatever, the cat hole is already dug. I can just go out there and use it. If I end up leaving camp and did not use it, it only takes a second to go over there and fill it in. And because I know the natural tendency of human beings, if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to follow and have to use the bathroom. You're not going to follow all the principles of leave no trace and safety for the environment and be X amount of feet away from a water source and from your camp and all that kind of stuff. 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to worry about that. So if you do it ahead of time, it's good to go. So what I do is this U-shaped groove in there is designed to slip over the trowel. This one's for a deuce. I leave that in my poop kit on the outside of my bag, and that way during the day it's ready to go, and then at night or in the evening whenever I set up camp, I'm able to use this to set up my tent. This is for the tent stakes. Set up my tent, dig my cat hole, all that stuff, put this back on the trowel, put it back in my poop kit, and I have it right there on the outside of my pack. And then it's ready for the next day. I don't have any issues, don't have to worry about losing it. Keeping track of it has never been an issue. So the one concern that almost prevented me from buying it hasn't even been an issue. So let's talk about the tent stakes. I was going to make this video as I was setting up camp and actually using it, but the chance of rain is just steadily increasing, and I got to get this done. So, and I don't want to put it off to another trip. This is an MSR ground mini groundhog, I mean, and fits in there very easily. As you can see, it kind of fits up to that notch, so it fits in there pretty decently. I have the groundhog minis, and I have the regular groundhogs, and I also have other similar style stakes. And I had a shepherd. First, before I forget it, I use some shepherd hooks too. This is not really designed to fit in there, but it does work. Just know if you're using shepherd hooks, it could slip when you're doing it, so just be aware of that. But back to these. So what's the advantage of doing this? I hear everybody out there saying, well, I could just use just step on it with my foot, push it in. I've done that a million times myself. I've also bent a couple stakes in the process of doing that. One of the big reasons, a couple of the big reasons of stakes getting bent when you're putting it in with your foot. You got a stake, this is ground level, trying to push it in the ground. When you're using your foot, most of the time you have your heel on the ground and then you're pushing. Well, you're not pushing that way. Your foot is actually pivoting down, and that is naturally putting pressure on it that could bend the stake pretty easily. One way people try to avoid that and actually be able to push straight down with their foot is they keep their foot completely off the ground and push down on it. Well, that's all good until you slip and then your stake bends. So the ideal way would be able to push it in with your hand, and another advantage of pushing it in with your hand is your leg and foot is stronger than your arm and your hand, and so when you're pushing with your leg, you can't really feel the slight resistance from a tree root, a tree root or a rock or whatever. You can't feel some of the things you'd be able to feel with your arm and your hand. So if you're pushing in with your hand, and you feel that tree root or whatever before it gets so much pressure that it bends the stake, you can feel that and tree root or rock or whatever, pull it out, reposition it, and try again. And of course, pushing that stake down with that would be very painful. So when you put this on there, you can actually push down, put a lot of pressure down, get it down in the ground, and saves a lot of bent stakes. This is relatively cheap, and so in a matter of time and saving in bent tent stakes, it could pay for itself. So like I said, the shepherd hooks, it's not made for them, and it does kind of work for them, but just got to be careful. And the trowels, these sharp edges, so many people complain about the sharp edges on them when you're trying to dig. It just hurts too bad. And I've tried some with the thin plastic on it. That's better, but it still puts the pressure on just a fairly narrow spot on your hand, where this really distributes the weight over your hand a lot better, and it's a lot better. And I know I find it hard to believe that everybody, especially if the ground is hard, is actually digging the hole 6 inches or deeper when they're just doing it with a sharp edge like that. I got a feeling the holes are coming up pretty shallow because of that. So nice piece of gear by Jereko Gear, and like I said, I was hesitant to get it, but doing it the way I do it, it has never been an issue on possibly losing it or anything. And good piece of gear. I recommend it. I hope that answers any questions somebody might have when they're looking at this product and thinking about buying it. I definitely would recommend it. And as 16 grams, it doesn't add really anything to your pack.